All right, let's see. What do we got for us, Mercer?
Hey everybody, my name is Matthew Mercer.
And I'm Spencer Stark.
And we are inviting you here to this video to learn how to play Daggerheart, a new RPG that is currently in development.
So before we get into the basics, we just want to remind all of you that this game is now currently in open beta. So things discussed in this video may change, shift, go away, be added to.
Okay, so real quick, I want to pause. So this guy here, the one that's currently on screen doing the pog face.
Excellent pause.
Yeah, excellent pause. I'm not sure what his relationship to Mercer was prior to, because this isn't the first time they've done a video or a system like this. I think they also did Candle Obscura or something like that.
Oh, the fucking noir one, the noir,
the noir Magitech
detective
corruption thing. Yeah. But he did this. He did Candle Obscure as well. And what I'm curious,
they've been buddies for a while.
Yeah, like have they been buddies for a while? Was he part of the tech staff at Critical Role for a while? Because he kind of came out of nowhere, as far as I'm concerned. Like it was one of those things where you're just watching Critical Role.
I have the feeling that these guys have known each other for either quite a while. And he's just always been in the background because like he's not needed in the front of the staff, right? So it's just like some people just like they're like, oh, I don't really want to be on camera, and then Mercer's like, no, dude, you have to come in and explain this because like this is your baby. You are like 50+% of this project. Please, for the love of God, come on camera. That's my guess. I could be completely off base. I could be completely full of shit. Maybe this is like a brand new guy that they hired as part of the company. He's just like, oh, okay, got it. So this is the my main system designer guy, and he this is what we've come up with after a while. Right? Could be as easy as that. Could be my thought of they're probably old friends.
Yeah, my guess is they're old friends of some kind. But let's keep going. Because this like, face is funny.
And the only reason that I say that is just because like I know that like I've had a friend that I've played fucking D&D with for 20 years that I would trust to make a system and and me and him curate it and then present it to the world, and I'd be like, bro, you have to come on screen. I know you're an introvert. I know you hate the limelight. I know you hate talking about this shit. For the love of God, please, you're the system designer. I need you here, right? I would make them do that.
Understandable. Well, let's see if Mercer forces him to do anything.
Part of the process of making a game.
Indeed. To learn more and even join our open beta playtest, go check out Daggerheart.com.
I think they even did a stream of this last night.
Break the game.
Correctly.
Tell us what works, what doesn't work, what you love about it, what you want to see added, and tell us all that through the official Daggerheart open beta surveys.
The more people who play the game, the better we can make it. So jump in and help us break this thing because we are so excited to build this game with you and not just for you. So please play often and submit those surveys so we know what you like and what you don't.
Hell yeah.
Okay,
So Daggerheart is a fantasy tabletop role-playing game that sort of...
All right,
pause there.
Buddy. Pause there. Hold on. So they're already selling it as a fantasy tabletop game, which makes me immediately think, is this their Dungeons & Dragons killer?
This is their D&D. Yes, this is the D&D one. 100%. I can tell you that for now. This is the D&D replacement, and I'm so interested to hear your takes on the mechanics because... they're a little familiar. They're a little familiar to me.
All right.
Some of it immediately. I'm like, wait a second, I know this.
Well, I imagine if it's D20, it can't be all that different.
And the like crunchy together.
Yeah, I like that. It helps facilitate gameplay as both theater of mind, preference, but also
they're already talking about theater of the mind and tactical. Yeah, this is
minis like I love to do with our sessions.
The game doesn't really stop down when you're doing combat. You just kind of continue to play the way you do throughout the entire rest of the game, and so everything flows in and out of itself. So it allows you to really focus on the story that you all are telling. And
deeply customizable character creation and development.
I ever played the without number systems? I have not.
It is a long-term campaign game, so it runs over the course of 10 levels, which gives you plenty of fodder to be able to play a year-long campaign.
And one thing I will say about this so far is that they are very much padding.
But you can also jump in and play a one-shot or a couple of sessions, and works just as well for that.
Yeah. One of the things you can really expect from Daggerheart is a game that gives you tools if you want to use them to rapidly create in-depth characters that have dynamic relationships with the other players and characters at the table.
Okay, so right there, actually, I want to pause because they said something very important. where you can spin up in-depth characters that have relationships with other characters at the table. Now, that's not a new thing. It's not, at least in terms of a concept, but it is actually a mechanic I do like in systems like Star Trek Adventures, where there is a supporting character mechanic where you more or less are able to spin up a character on the spot and meaningfully contribute both to the role play and to any mechanics that are going on. So I'm interested to see if there's anything like that in this system, or if it's just a, hey, here's a character pre-made, because they're very different things at the end of the day.
No, it's you'll see here when they get into the making and everything for it. There, it's I think it's near the end where that the fluff stuff, if you will be added in, and it's just like you'll see.
Tools for the GM and the players to build a world together. You can make and play or run a game as deep or as shallow or as simple or as robust as you want to. And the intent of Daggerheart is to give you all those tools at your disposal and teach you how to implement them in your game, so you can kind of pick and choose what it is you enjoy about this, or run the full gamut and go all
diversify.
In. Now let's get into the basics of Daggerheart. Duality dice are sort of the bread and butter.
Duality dice, okay.
Two different colored 12-sided dice.
Okay, hold up. Did he just say D12s? Hold the hell on.
Correct!
Literally the least ever used, least owned D12s.
Correct!
Okay, now this is interesting. This is even more interesting.
Because the thing is, though, is that I'm still a little sad about it because I'm a D10 boy and I want to use all my massive collections of D10s. My DM would fucking love this. He loves D12s and he's just like, I'm so mad that nobody ever fucking uses D12s as a base for anything. It's so bullshit that like it's like one great axe is like all you fucking get for a D12, and they're like the whole system is on D12s.
So it's funny actually because when I first made my own homebrew systems, it was a D12 based pool system, or it wasn't just 2D12 like they're showing here. It was a whole pool up to like 10 D12 if you got that high.
Yeah, sort of like what's it called here? World of Darkness with the D10s and everything for it there, where you amass a pool of D10s and roll all those, and then 8, 9, and 10 are your successes, and if you roll a 10, it explodes, and you roll it again, and all that stuff.
Yeah, something like that.
Like that?
Okay. I'm interested to see what they're doing here because they're only using 2d12. But okay, so we have a hope and a fear die. Okay.
Yes.
Hope die and your fear die. Now you choose which is which, and for us, we're going to be using this brighter colored one.
No, Mercer, we're going to be using the dark one for hope and the light one for fear.
Anytime your team asks you to make an action roll, you'll roll both your hope die.
My darkness die is my hope die.
Along with any relevant modifiers, represented by little tokens like this.
The tokens can also be coins or beads.
Okay, hold up. I actually have to rewind that just a little bit because I think I missed something crucial.
And you add them together along with any relevant modifiers, represented by little tokens like this.
Okay, they're modifiers. That's what I missed.
Can also be
modifiers,
or beads, or you can just do the math in your head. But it helps to have these little representations right there next to the dice you rolled to do the quick math.
Then you tell the GM your result, along with whether your hope die or your fear die rolled highest. For example, let's say Travis is playing Bertrand Bell and is making an agility roll. He has a +1 to his agility trait, and he ends up rolling a 9 on his hope die and a 4 on his fear die.
That's good. So he would have a 10.
All that together, and then tell the GM that he got a 14 with hope.
Oh, okay. So that's what they're doing.
Right?
I thought that what they were doing was you take the highest die and then you add the agility. So it's actually everything added together.
Everything. Which means there's a lot of modifier stacking that you can do, just like in my boy, Pathfinder First Edition.
So actually, one of the concerns I have real quick, though, is does that make the system swingy? Because
I have no fucking clue.
Because here's my initial, and they might explain this a little bit later on, but my thinking is, if it's always whether it's the fear or the hope that's higher, like let's say the situation was reversed, you rolled a 4 on hope and a 9 on fear. Doesn't that immediately swing 14 with fear rather than 14 with hope? You see what I'm saying?
It does. However, they go in and explain what that means as well.
Okay.
Because guess what? Just narrative-based shit is baked into the rolling.
let's keep going then, because I'm interested to see what they do.
Yeah. Now, if 14 meets or beats the difficulty decided by the GM,
okay, so it is
he
still a DC
on his agility roll, and he also gains 1 hope for rolling with hope.
Every time your hope die is higher,
you
get
a hope,
which is a liquid resource your character can spend to aid allies or activate.
Okay, so it's a meta currency. Okay,
sometimes
that's what
your character
it is.
might have an experience that you could further modify an action roll in their favor. Like maybe.
All right, so right there, I'll pause for a second because meta currency is actually one of those things that I really like about any tabletop role-playing system.
Hell yeah, right?
Not only is it my bread and butter when I'm doing Star Trek or Fallout or any of the 2D20 systems, but even doing like 40K roleplay, like what is it? Not Imperium Maledictum, that's the new one. Wrath and Glory, that's the one I wanted.
Wrath and Glory. I heard that shit was fucking like the good version of what's it called? Like the Rogue Trader stuff and the what was the one before Rogue Trader? Because Rogue Trader's the middle one. Oh, Dark Heresy is the lowest level one where you play as fucking basic grunts. Dark Heresy.
Well, it depends on your definition of grunt. There's Dark Heresy, which is Inquisitor agents, and then there's Only War, which is Guardsmen.
Okay, that's the one I meant. What's the Guardsman?
Guardsmen is Only War.
Only War. Holy shit. Okay. Dark Heresy is you play as Inquisitor agents. Okay, cool. That's not bad. That's actually decent. Like, you could get somewhere with that, and gives you freedom to do that Inquisition, like, excuse me, hello, do you know who I fucking work for? Right? So you can actually get access to places. When you're a fucking Guardsman, you're just fucked.
Yeah, you're just
fucked.
Actually, have you ever heard of the Old Guardsmen Party?
No, I don't know what that is.
Oh, well, you're one of today's lucky 10,000. The All Guardsmen Party is actually a game that started as Only War, and the GM moved into Dark Heresy shenanigans. But it is this long-spanning, I want to say like...
They survived being Guardsmen?
Well, that's the best part, is that they started as Guardsmen, and so I should qualify that this is a long-standing, like 18 to 24-part narrative that started being released on 4chan. I don't want to know how long ago. It's been long.
Fuck.
But it used to be just, it was a story time that was on 4chan's TG board, and it was something everybody looked forward to because it was good storytelling. But the premise is the GM of this game basically had the players do only war characters, and he ran them through the ringer. He ran them through the absolute grind fest of, hey, your character's dead, roll a new one. Hey, your character's dead, roll a new one. And eventually the group came down and the GM's like, all right, those characters that have survived, one for each of you, are now your characters. We're now playing Dark Heresy. So it went from being an Only War, gritty Guardsman narrative to, oh shit, we're now Inquisitorial agents. And the characters are really interesting. I don't want to spoil anything because it's a good read. And I think I'll probably remember to include it in the video description when I post this. But the All Guardsmen Party is one of those things where if you like goofy antics like Critical Role, if you like the nitty gritty, like, oh shit, they fucked up moments kind of a thing, it's an excellent read. In fact, let me just real quickly here on the side see if the URL has changed at all. Because they used to post it on Google. Yeah, Google's already autofilling. Here, I'll put it in Twitch chat, and I'll also remember to link it in the video description. But yeah, the All Guardsmen Party, if you've got an afternoon, definitely would recommend going through it and giving it a read.
Put that in our Discord as well, so I can.
Yeah, let me throw it in your Discord as well. There you go.
I'm gonna forget. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, well, let's get back to this before we get too off base.
Yeah, off topic into the other things that we need to fucking talk about. But
Character has Haggler as an experience when trying to negotiate with the shopkeeper.
They've got Haggler instead of negotiation.
Expert herbalist when looking for medicinal plants.
Okay, I'm sorry, hold on, I have to pause again. Expert herbalist.
Yep. Okay, all right, let me explain what they mean by experience. So when they say experience, what it really means is, do you recall in World of Darkness the specialties that you would add onto the skills? That would give you that extra die to roll. It's that. So it can be, but it's like an all-purpose thing where you can be like, hey, here's this general thing that your character is, generally good at in terms of this sort of specialty, right? And you're just like, okay, well, if I can role play this specialty into the sequence, into our, the transition, everything for it there, I'll get a +1 or something like that, right? So it's like there's another version of stacking for it there, but it ties in with the narrative because you need to role play it in there that you know what the fuck you're talking about. That your expert herbalism comes in. You're just like, oh yes, of course. Well, this is of course the schmiggledy plant of the weed variety. So I'll of course I know what that would be, and I would like to roll with my No, what it was is that you gain access to advantage, and advantage is also in this system as well, but it's done a little bit differently. You'll see when they get to it.
The only thing I'll say before we continue again is that the schmiggledy variety, I just want to see that in my local THC store. Can we get that as a brand?
Yeah, where's my schmiggledy variety type of weed? I'm going to be going down to the dispensary, and it better be there.
That experience helps you, and then add its value to your
roll. So we're talking about adding it up. It meets the DC. You said that already, but go ahead.
But your hope and fear die influence what happens next.
Indeed.
Okay, this is
with hope. You get what you want, and you gain 1 hope. You can spend that later on. But if you succeed and roll with fear, you get what you want, but it may come with a consequence or add a complication.
Okay, so that right there tells me that they're doing the yes but
and
method.
Baked into the rolling,
which is good.
Baked into the rolling, and not only that too, but the way that they do turns and like actions and everything for it there also has to deal with this shit as well. It's fucking interesting.
Interesting. Well, I'm gonna keep playing then because now I'm getting into it. I'm liking. What I'm seeing
Are you not excited? I'm literally lit up when I was like, "Holy shit, dude! This sounds fun as fuck."
Yeah. All right, Mercer, what do you got for us? Keep giving us.
Takes a fear
okay, token. So again, hold up. I got to pause again. I know we're not getting through this video very quick, but I got to pause again.
It doesn't matter. No. Yes, that's right. Fear tokens.
So that means it's not just a player meta currency; it's the game master meta currency.
It's the DM currency too.
I love it. And Orfish, there is a power wash simulator. If you look in the background,
the power wash.
We'll get to it. It's there.
There will be. I'm excited. He hasn't seen Daggerheart Beta stuff. It came out yesterday. I had to talk about it. I literally haven't talked about it with anyone. I'm bursting at the seams to fucking talk about it. Let me have this, Orfish.
All right, but hey, GM meta currency, I love it.
A good resource that the GM can use to affect the story both in and out of combat, but we'll cover that.
Yes.
If you fail with hope, you don't get what you want.
Okay, so if you fail with hope, it's a no.
But you still gain a hope.
Okay, so it's
you gain a hope, though.
Fear, you don't get what you want, and you may suffer major consequences.
Okay, no, fail with fear is no, and the fail with hope is no, but.
If you roll doubles on the 2 dice, you get a critical success, which means you get exactly what you want.
That's
you gain a hope, you clear a stress, and possibly some other cool benefits alongside it.
Okay, now...
Did you see that too?
So my initial thought on that, and I'd have to go back and look at the numbers on this, is that it's... Well, let me see if I can quickly do the math in my head. So you have to roll the 2 of the same number, and I'm just going to preface this that I almost failed my probability course in college. So it's a 1 in 12 odd, and you have to get another 1 in 12 odd. So that's what, a 1 in 24 chance, which is less than a 1 in 20 roll. You know, a 1 in 20 in D&D, but it is still, what is that? 3
lower,
4?
the reaching that 5% percentile.
Yeah. So it's not
I'm sure someone who has math skills could probably do it fucking, cleaner than we're admitting for it here, because I can't be bothered right now. I haven't done math in 50 years.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, and Orfish, this is Daggerheart's open beta video, the how to play
we're watching. This is the Dagger. It came out fucking yesterday.
Yeah. All right, well, let's... Oh, you know what I just realized before we continue? That means that if you literally roll double nat ones... You still succeed.
It's a critical success.
Yeah. It's interesting.
Which means
Huh. Well, let's keep going. What else you got for us, Mercer?
Well, now that we've explained the basics of the duality dice, let's lightly skim the character creation process.
Okay, character creation. This is usually
For
the
a
meat
deeper
and
dive
butter.
into character creation, check out our Daggerheart character creation video where I sit down with Travis Willingham and make Bertrand
Bell. And
Bell,
that's a 40-minute video. No, 30 minutes.
For the purposes of this video, we'll give you a brief overview. Our character classes are Bard, Druid, Guardian, Ranger, Rogue, Seraph, Sorcerer, Warrior, and Wizard.
Okay, let me
Every
pause
class
on that. No,
has
no, no,
one-
no, 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 no. Go back.
All
Go
right,
back.
if you want, what's it called? There's the little arrow
go.
keys that you can. Oh, there you go. Oh, perfect,
There we
perfect.
go.
Yeah. So here's our classes.
So
no cleric, but we have seraphs, which like angel people.
Right, that's what I wanted to zero in on. Is in fact, let me remove the closed.
And not only that,
so
they
we can
have
see it.
warrior and guardian, so tank and then DPS fighter.
Right,
Separate?
and maybe it's just my D&D experience talking here, but what I'm concerned about is
Guardian
what
like
is
a
the
paladin.
difference
Smart,
between
smart,
a
smart.
guardian, a warrior, and a ranger? Like, what is that difference there?
So actually, do you see the small little flag token at the top? It's right there. They will get to why these things are different in a little bit. Because there is actually like some intense differences because they have this. It's actually pretty good, but yes, there are stark, deep differences between what these are and what they gain access to and what they can do.
Okay, well let's keep going.
But yeah, those are the
Every
those are
class
the
has
main
one
classes.
or more class features, which are spells and abilities that are unique to each class. Like the Rogue, for example, has a thing called Cloak, which allows them to move into a space where no enemies can see them and be effectively invisible as long as they don't move or attack.
Each
Okay,
class also
so
consists
that
of-
is I'm trying to remember what it's called in World
From
of
World of
Darkness.
Warcraft, it's the night elf fucking like.
Well, it's also in
the
it's also
night
in
elf
World of
shadow.
Darkness.
Is it in World of Darkness?
Yeah, I'm just trying to remember what it is in World of Darkness. It's been so long.
Obfuscation.
It is obfuscation, but I just don't remember what the actual power is off the top of my head.
I'm trying to fucking. I don't remember, man.
It's been forever. But
I was
yeah.
gonna say, I'm like, I have it. And not only that, but like, who the fuck takes the obfuscation? Who plays vampire? Who takes the obfuscation tree? Obviously, fucking smart people because it's the best tree. But you know,
yeah,
I can't fucking.
meeting
Is
of
it
two
Fade Away
domains,
or Fish? I haven't played fucking World of D in forever.
it might be Fade Away. It's been forever. All right, Mercer, what else you got for us?
They're
Hold on.
like symbolic themes. Through these two domains, you pick and choose what abilities you want for your character by taking domain cards at character creation and every time you
Okay,
level
so
up.
basically
These domains
feeds.
are Arcana, the domain
Okay, so
of
these are the
innate
little
or
symbols that we
instinctual
saw
magic.
before.
Blade, the domain of weapon mastery. Bone, the domain of swiftness and tactical mastery. Codex, the domain of intensive magical study. Grace, the domain of charisma and
So one thing I'm going to point out real quick that I know is going to be an issue is that if you see the middle symbol top row and then the right row the top row right at the end, those two are too similar in my mind.
You think they're too similar?
Yeah, like if you look at them critically, you can see the difference, but at a glance,
I see what you're saying. Yeah, like they look a little. Okay, well that's okay though because this is the beta, and they're like, this is our draft.
These can all change, but it just that immediately spoke. You know, as a GM who's used to teaching systems, I could already see that trying to teach
the rest look absolutely unique. Like even the Guardian one, which kind of has that like triangular shield dynamic, and then the whatever that sun one is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, they both have they're top heavy over there, but it's still like the bottom part is just so much more different that I don't think they could conflict. But I think you are correct that at a glance, the butterfly and the knives look a little bit different. I think you could just probably have like one knife that's standing up because there's nothing else that looks like a knife standing up.
Yeah, maybe I'll submit that feedback a little bit later, but let's keep going.
Ant-Man. Midnight, the domain of shadow and secrecy.
The shadow and secrecy,
the
midnight.
domain of the natural world. Splendor, the domain of life and death.
Splendor,
the domain of
and
protection.
valor.
So, for example, the Bard calls upon
Valor.
the charm and magnetism of the Grace domain, along with the lore and magic of the Codex domain. And if you want to cast a spell from a domain card you have, typically you'll have a spellcast roll. This works just like an action roll, but uses your spellcast trait that you can find on your
Okay, hold on. I gotta pause this because I want to read. So when you select this foundation, describe a unique instrument that you carry and add it to your inventory. You may perform each song once per long rest. When you play a common relaxing song, you get to heal a hit point. When you play an epic song during battle, you make a target vulnerable. When you play a heartbreaking song at any time, you and L, close allies, take a hope. Okay.
Yeah,
so,
3 different things. That's some
I like
support
that.
right there, motherfucker.
So
that's like versatility. That because that's what is the bard if not everything, right?
So I actually have two thoughts about that. So the first one is it's good that there's variety. Variety is amazing. More options for players, the better. Yep. My only other concern is that this also is reminding me of 4th edition D&D, which I forget if you have experience with.
I do. It was negative experience, but it was like the thing is though, I genuinely 4th edition was done well. It was they went in and answered all this bullshit that we had for years with 3.5. Specifically, the classes aren't balanced. They balance them. And it turns out we didn't want that at all. We didn't want to be balanced. Nobody wanted to be balanced. We just said we wanted to be balanced because we were jackasses. And we were like, bro, it's unfair. Why does his class? It's because what you really want to be is be the fucking best possible thing that smokes out anyone else, but at any given time, and specifically what I'm playing, which is an impossible request to fucking fulfill. It means that, at this point, so I'm a wizard right now, and I'm doing great in 3.5, but only at later levels, which we'll never. When are we getting to level 9, bro? When am I gonna rip? You might suck at level 1, but you're gonna rip at level 9. Why aren't we level 9 right now? You promised I would rip, and I haven't. But yeah, it's just like you want to be the best at any given time. At every level, so that you can be like, I'm fucking useful, I'm the greatest, I'm the fucking best. But it's unfeasible, except for in 4th edition, which literally balanced the fucking classes to the point where everyone was useful, everyone was excellent. They even had that cool motherfucker, the warlord or whatever his name
the warlord who literally could shout at you and heal your damage.
I love him. Yeah, because he was a leader archetype. Him and the bard were two of it was like the bard went from the joke class of 3.5 to like even the joke class of like AD&D. Like holy shit, you fucking jokes ahoy over there. But went from being a fucking joke class that sucked balls, that ate ass, that is stupid, to hello, I'm here and I'm going to save your fucking life. It did have the Marshal. The Marshal was nowhere near as good as the fucking Warlord. The Warlord or whatever. I don't even remember what it was called. Was it Warlord?
I think it was literally Warlord.
Was it Warlord? Am I just making that shit up?
It sounds right to me.
I don't know. Commander? I don't fucking remember.
Definitely
Warlord sounds right. I don't think it was Commander. Commander sounds too, whatever. But yes, it was this sick class that let you move around and do all this stuff. And then the bard did the same thing where he, magically played his lute, giving you inspiration, giving you movement, healing your wounds. The Marshal did the same. Marshal, I called him the Marshal because I read Orphish putting fucking Marshal in the chat. The Warlord let you do the exact same sort of stuff. He let you move, he let you reposition, he let you, pincer attack people, he let you get bonuses, and he healed your wounds by screaming at you. Yep. Which is more like, hold in those guts, soldier. It's the gritty way of healing you, of like, you're not allowed to die because I'm intimidating death, as you're more scared of me than you are of death.
Well, maybe we'll find out if we have a Warlord analog here in Daggerheart. Let's find out.
I don't know if it will.
In Daggerheart, your base character traits are agility for things like sprinting, leaping,
dexterity,
maneuvering,
more or less.
strength for things like lifting, smashing, or
strength
grappling.
is strength.
Finesse, which is used for like hiding, tinkering.
Okay, so I got to pause there because that splitting dexterity into agility and finesse, I get why they did it.
Yeah. But I want you to think of instead of calling it finesse, call it precision.
Even if you call it precision, there's still going to be an issue where, again, I'm looking at this from a teaching perspective.
Yeah. You're going to get them confused. You're going to get them but that falls under the purview of dexterity because I'm so used to that from D&D of having only one dex stat because dex is the best stat in the fucking game. And it does everything. I think this is smart. I genuinely, at first, I hated it too. I literally had this like knee-jerk reaction of being like, oh God, this is gonna be so fucked. But the more I think about it, you can do something fast agile, right? You can go fast. So think of agility as going fast.
Mm-hmm.
Think of finesse as
precision. Yeah.
Fucking going in there and doing it precise. So if you want to be someone who has that full ass dex build, you want both finesse and agility, because then you can do fast and do it right and like precise whilst you're doing it fast.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's see it, because it looks like we got
right?
space for what? Yeah. No, it makes sense. I'm just curious what the other three are going to be then, because if you split dexterity, I mean, what do they got to cut something? So what are they cutting?
Motor control. Instinct, which is for like navigating.
Okay, instinct is more or less wisdom.
Presence for
Presence
charming,
is
deceiving, and
charisma.
performing. And knowledge for analyzing.
Okay, so that immediately answers my question. They cut Constitution.
Mm-hmm. Want to know why? Because what the fuck? Other than HP, what the fuck did Constitution fucking do?
I think it was one of those rare situations where you'd use Constitution saving throws. And that would be your resistance against weather effects, ice, cold damage, fire damage.
All that. Yeah, but like then you can just, what you can do is you can take all that toughness stuff and just put it as strength.
Yeah.
You can combine, because Constitution doesn't need to be its own thing because it's so little and it's so few. You just put everything the Constitution was into strength, toughing it out, being strong, being, like, fuck it. I'll put it in there. Why not? It works. It was so few that you literally are a subset of strength, but in entirely in its own thing, just to fucking tick up slots. I think this is actually fucking goated.
Oh no, I agree. I do agree that Constitution was bad.
Yeah, precision has so much more application, so many more situations for that to fucking come up. Going fast, tons of different situations where you got to go fast and be quick and fucking woo, 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 woo. Like all
That's
of these
the sound
ones
you got to make
now,
too. You have to make that sound when you're going fast.
That's the fast sound. That's the sound of fast. That's, with a Flash when he's, when the Flash says I'm the fastest animal alive or whatever the fuck. When the Flash says gotta go fast. And then he huffs his red shoes.
Hold on, I think you literally
eats
just
his chili dogs.
You conflated the Flash, which is a DC character, and Sonic the Hedgehog.
When he turns to his buddy Tails and says, "Build me a plane, you little hedgehog bitch," it's that Flash is just on a different level, man. Like you can't keep up with him. Yes, exactly. Thank you, Orfish. So, since Dex was so good, split it into fucking two.
I'm skipping ahead because I want to see the array. So, they are doing the array thing, where it's +2, yes. 2 +1s, 2 zeros, and a -1. Okay.
It is, yes.
Which now makes me wonder how it upgrades. Let's keep going to see if they talk about how it upgrades, maybe.
Which you can increase as you level.
As you level.
Now let's talk about hit points and stress.
I'm assuming there's going to be probably
Daggerheart,
3
the
hits.
character's overall health is represented by a number of hit points, which you'll find on your character sheet in the form of several blank boxes.
I was close. Double that.
When you're faced with incoming damage, you will fill in or mark a certain number of these hit points based on your character's damage thresholds. So if you take...
Okay. This right here, I know why they're doing it. I know why they're making thresholds.
Yep. Why?
Well, mostly for system simplification, even though it seems like a complex mechanic. But again, from a teaching perspective, getting the players to remember the thresholds, it'll work on a VTT, because the VTT, like Foundry, Roll20, whatever, it'll handle it for you. You'll type in, hey, how much damage did you take? And then it'll auto-mark the HP.
Yep.
My concern is at convention play and at a physical table, especially when you're teaching the system to start off, that these thresholds are going to be the biggest point of confusion that I've seen so far.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Because, I mean, let's just look at these numbers, for example.
Okay, the thing is, though, you, as a designer, do you understand what this is?
Yeah, I mean, I understand what they're doing, where they're starting you off and be like, okay, you take 1 box. Okay, if you take this much damage, you take 2 boxes, et cetera, et cetera. And it does appear that there is a 5 threshold, where between minor and major, it's 5. Between major and severe, it's 5. I would presume that there's a mechanic to go even further, but maybe not. But this is so that you don't instantly chunk a character. Because nobody likes getting chunked. Everybody hates getting chunked.
Correct.
So I understand why they're doing it.
Here's the thing though, is that I'm like, okay, so do I only ever have like a max of 6 HP though? And it's just like, that is the part where I'm confused. Is there a way to increase the amount of little HPs that I have?
Mm-hmm.
Right? But like at the same time, will my thresholds go up? Is that the way that it's increased? Where no matter what, to keep it simple, you have 6 boxes, right? Mm-hmm. to your HP for combat, because then that'll keep it simple forever.
Yep.
And then your thresholds just go up as you level so that you can take more damage as you get stronger. Maybe.
We're gonna have to see what they say about advancement, if they say anything in this video, because I could see it becoming an issue if somebody could get too much HP, because right now everybody starts with 6.
Yes, as far as I can tell, everyone starts with 6, which is simple and good. I feel like it will just stay that way. Like it will just 100%. You will never get a higher HP threshold, but like you'll see here, they talk about mitigation a ton, and there's a bunch of different ways that you can mitigate.
Let's see what they say about mitigation.
You mark 1 hit point. For major damage, you mark 2 hit points. And for severe damage, you mark 3 hit points.
Whenever you take
damage, so it actually doesn't go beyond
that damage
severe.
amount
That's
to your character's damage thresholds, and mark your hit points accordingly.
Severe is the most you can do.
If a rogue
one
at
attack.
level 1 has 15 damage coming at them, that would be just over their severe damage threshold. So they would mark 3 hit points.
Okay,
So
so
you ever take damage below your minor damage threshold, you take a stress instead of damage. Now, stress.
Okay, so that's
is
the thing.
also
So
a
stress is
resource that
another
your character can
trigger.
endure to carry out certain uncanny feats or class abilities. But you got to be careful. If you should ever
So stress
need to
is
mark a
like
stress,
real quick here. Stress is, if I'm understanding correctly, stress is what fatigue is in Avatar Legends. I forget what it is in general terms for Powered by the Apocalypse, but it's basically, your pseudo HP bar or another HP bar.
Yes, as far as I can tell, when they started talking about this, it seems like it's not only another HP bar, but it's also used for mechanics, like you spend some stress to do abilities.
Right, which is what he's about to talk about.
Yeah, exactly.
Also the face on Mercer. I have so many great pause moments in this video. Just
you've had a ton of excellent pauses.
Excellent pauses.
100%.
Here, but let's keep going.
They're all marked. You mark a hit point.
Okay, that actually is immediately what I was curious, because if you run out of stress, you've got to mark hit point.
You start bleeding like a man, like you're stressed out of your mind, and so you physically bleed.
Yeah, so that is actually Powered by the Apocalypse at its core, where if you run out of your resource, you have to mark your fatigue or your hit points, whatever it's called in that Powered by the Apocalypse.
Yep, exactly.
So I see what they're doing. They're pulling in a lot of good things, but let's see how they keep it going.
Before that too.
Yes, go ahead.
Before that too, pause it up again. Evasion. He looks so shocked. Like, why are you pausing? So
what are you doing?
The other thing is, remember earlier when they were talking about the 2d12s that you roll as the base mechanic for the game, which one die is hope and one die is fear. Mm-hmm. That duality thing for it there actually, I believe, comes from or at least it reminds me of another system that was somewhat similar to that, where you would have it was like, I'm trying to fucking remember what it was called. It had different pools, but you can add a bunch of extra stuff to those pools to go and do things. But then you can end up, depending on who's the biggest, you roll with, it was like madness dice and nightmare dice or something of that nature. It was some intense stuff. Hi, Witchy.
Hi,
Witchy.
Was some
goddamn
also
intense
hi, GM.
I'm trying to remember the fuck was it called. Why I'm so pissed. Don't rest your head. Don't rest your head. I think it was Don't Rest Your Head. The system's called Don't Rest Your Head, and it was big narrative, huge narratively game where you go in and it's all about like, you're sort of an insomniac and you haven't been sleeping well, and finally after you have your first big sleep, it takes you to this like collective consciousness area called the Mad World, where everyone's a lucid dreamer and everyone's trying to like, it's like weird stuff's going on and you're trying to get out and go to like get back to your real life, but nightmares are nearby and you are starting to roll dice, but like the weirdness of the world is starting to affect you, so you have access to these madness dice, and then the more you use them, the more like you gain access to, oh, are you sure you want to roll these? Because if you do, and they're the biggest dice in the pool, you have now rolled successfully, but you've rolled with madness. So like the world starts to warp around you and do crazy stuff, where it was taking the dice and having the dice rolls physically affect the narrative around you. And it's so fucking cool. I love that shit. That shit is my jam.
GM is making notes to torture Benno with later. Don't mind me. All right.
An evil hat product? You know what it is? Oh, well, what a gamer, dude. What a gamer. Yeah. What a genius level gamer, dude.
Yeah, GM is usually pretty connected in those spaces. So
I was going to say probably like a master, like big brain level over there.
Mm-hmm. All right, but let's keep going.
Your ability to avoid being hit by an attack. So when the GM makes an attack roll against a player,
okay, so this is basically your AC.
1d20. They add
okay, hold up.
How are you feeling right now? How are you feeling right now?
Hold the hell on. Hold on.
What the fuck? Why are the heroes rolling 2d12 and the GM is rolling a d20? What's going on?
So, again, they'll probably say this later. I will probably say that if it's the players always roll d12s and the GM always rolls d20, that's fine. It's perfectly nice. I actually like that as an idea.
Correct. But I do not mind that at all.
If it's mixed, that's going to be a problem because there's going to be so much confusion.
I do not think so. I think it's literally going to be, hey, this is how the GM plays. This is how the fucking players play. They never mix, is my thought process on that, because that just makes so much sense to me. I can't imagine that they would go in there and be like, hey, man, we're just going to have you switch back and forth. It's like, no. Now, the only way that I could see this, having that mix, is for the psycho people that start doing summoner shit. Where they where you bring in a monster and you have to use the monster's stat sheet, and then the monster gets to do stuff, and then that's where that D20 would come in, because the monsters are probably always going to be D20 base.
Yep.
That's the only time I can see it mixing.
Let's see.
Modifiers and see if the result meets or beats this number. If the attack hits a player, the player can choose to mark armor slots to reduce the incoming damage by their armor score.
For example, let's go back to our level 1 rogue that has 15 damage coming at them. If they have an armor score of 3, like if they have leather armor, they could choose to mark one of their armor slots and reduce that damage to 12, downgrading that severe damage into just
I'm
going to
let it keep going, but I have something on this because they're probably going to answer for us.
They can always choose to mark more than one armor slot if they need to reduce the damage by more as well.
Right,
and you can, of course, get those armor slots back, but you have to do it by repairing your armor during downtime. We'll cover that in just a little bit.
Now let's go ahead and talk about game master.
Actually, I'll pause because now
I gotta talk about it.
Yeah.
How do you like that with armor? How do you feel about that armor as a resource?
I think it's a good idea, but there's a but there. But in longer form tabletop stuff, or not tabletop stuff, how do I want to say this? In a longer form mission, dungeon, whatever you want to call it, it does turn into an interesting resource mechanic of, if I spend this armor point, is my armor going to break
now? What
later?
If I need it later? Yeah, exactly. What's individual one session? Yeah, no problem. I'll 100% be using my armor and everything for it there. But what if we don't have a chance to rest? What if it's encounter after encounter? But is the game built for that? I'm so interested to see how the fuck, as a DM, how many encounters do I do between the stuff? Am I allowing this? Is it 3? Do I do 3 encounters before they're allowed a little rest? And they also keep they definitely keep the mechanic of both short resting and long resting. They will explain that, and you can tell me what you think when you have that information as well.
Yeah, actually, GM, they just said that is you can repair your armor, but they haven't described how you repair your armor.
They didn't say how yet. They didn't say how.
Yeah. So let's keep going. Let's see what Matt has to say.
So setting appropriate difficulty values for your players is a time-honored tradition for many game masters. And when it comes to Daggerheart, a general good rubric to follow when setting difficulty values is a range of 5 being very easy, extremely easy, up to 15 being your standard average difficulty, all the way up to 30 and more being nearly impossible.
It's D&D!
So
the same as D&D!
So here's my thoughts on that, because
This is now the thing is though, this is the same as when I grew up in 3.5, because those numbers do not work for fucking 5th edition.
No, they really don't. But no,
that's not a 5th edition number right there. This is a 3.5 fucking number system.
Again, I'd have to look at the math because, you know, I'm terrible at math, but that sort of makes sense with the spread of D12s with 2 D12s on the table plus modifiers.
Yep.
That does work.
So we have 24 vibrant. Yeah. It's time to stack my prestige classes a billion times. I'm 50 different classes.
But no, that impossible thing. So not only would you have to roll a quote unquote either crit. Well, you would have to roll a crit because you would have to get 2 12s. But if you roll 2 12s, you automatically succeed.
You automatically succeed because it's a critical hit. So you'd have to roll a 23. So we're using a 23 as a base, which means we have 1 12 and 1 11.
Which means
so
7 modifiers.
7 modifiers, which is fucking crazy to think about.
Wow. Okay, well, let's keep going. Hold
you should
on.
also be aware of the circumstances surrounding action rolls because they may grant advantage or disadvantage. For example, maybe you're attempting to lift a broken carriage out of a muddy ditch in the pouring rain. And if that's the case, the GM may impose disadvantage on the strength roll to do that. This situational modifier is represented by including 1d6 with the action roll, with advantage.
No.
This is it. Why? You don't like it? You don't like it? Too many dice? Too many different types of dice?
Too many different types of dice.
He hates it.
Different types of dice.
He hates it. Here's the I don't hate it so far. It's a bit swingy because that can go from 1 to 6 XS.
Yep.
And it's just like
it's also one of those things, and actually, let me play it out so we actually have a full graphic we can look at here.
Yep. Disadvantage, you subtract.
Okay. So, and I know why they're doing it, because again, they want to have a way to quickly represent the skill, skill circumstances. I get why, because you want to have okay, you have advantage on this, so you get rune extra die, and they can't do. And
it doesn't boil down to just like a mechanical +2, because in situations that's who fucking knows what the hell.
Yeah, and
just a generic +2 is not going to be enough. Exactly, leads to charts.
It's not fun. But I also realized why they didn't say let you reroll a D12, because again, we're rolling a D12, which is far.
That's huge swinginess.
Yeah,
that's
it's
massive
swingy.
Chance
it's
difference.
Different odds than a D20, and if you reroll a D12, you get a huge advantage on this. Same with disadvantage, where you would get very swingy very quickly.
The penalty would be massive. So doing half of it with a D6 that has a much more centralized chance of it being a 3, 4, or 2 is more acceptable. Way more acceptable.
But at the same time
is that you hate that it's a D6 and you're like, this is a different die. This is going to confuse idiots. This is going to, their brains are not going to like it. They're going to be like, gross. Okay. So what you could do instead is you could, and this is, again, not a great solution, bring another D12 and just say half of this.
Right. Which is an option.
Right? You can bring another D12 and you say, hey, you roll this, cut it in half, and then if you're advantage, you add it, and if you're disadvantage, you minus it.
Which I think,
is going to make you feel better. You specifically feel better that you're like, oh, okay, all right, that's fine. It's not a different die. They're not feeling bad. They're not feeling awful, but it's more math for them.
It is more math.
It's more steps. You look at which he's already like, I don't want it. Ew. Numbers
are hard. No. So numbers. Let's say I'm neutral on this. I'm decidedly neutral on that part right there. But let's keep going.
The value.
You go neutral.
Okay. Always remember that at any time a player can give another player advantage.
Okay, you
on an
can
action
assist
roll
each other
by spending
a hope. Okay,
describing
that's good.
How they're aiding their ally.
You got to describe
let's
how.
Talk a little bit about how combat works.
Combat we're into the dirty now.
It's designed to be a free-flowing narrative experience with minimal stop-downs and a multitude of possibilities for theater of the mind and map-based conflict.
When you want to make an attack, you'll first ask the GM if it's in range of your weapon. So melee range means that you're within touching distance.
So this is something we actually have in 2D20 where it's range
bands. 5
bands.
to 10 feet away, or the shortest length of a game card when measured on a map.
Okay,
Close
game
is
card,
between
interesting.
10 and 30 feet, or about the length of a standard pen or pencil. Far.
Also, let me pause there. No, hello, Instigator. No, we're just reacting to Daggerheart. Unless you mean the video, yes, Mercer and friend.
Yes, Matt Mercer and his pal Spencer Stark. I believe,
Yep, that's
of House Stark. So, it's really sick that he was able to jump out of those fucking books and come and join us here today. And that it's really weird that he doesn't have his crazy, don't want to British accent. So that's kind of fucking wild to me. But yes, these two beautiful gentlemen that I would absolutely sleep with and suck off for days on end are having a great time showing us the game. Fucking sick. It's exciting. It's fun. Genuinely, I've got an 80% I'm in. I want to try this sort of feeling for it there. And it's feeling good so far. Whoa.
I'm definitely on the positive side of things so far. But one thing I'm going to point out here is that I understand the range band. The range band's, again, something we use in 2D20, Star Trek, Fallout. We use range bands rather than actual distances. But I also say that, yes, they are also providing a grid-based or a distance measuring. And that's great for wargamers because wargamers are trained to have rulers, have things in hand. But they're saying, and this might be different in the actual rules, but saying things like the short side of a card or a standard pencil or a sheet of paper, I'm immediately getting in the mindset of, okay, what some asshat's going to do is he's going to take out an A4 sheet of paper and be like, well, GM, it's the sheet of a paper.
Here's the thing. I think that's fine.
Honestly, I think I would laugh.
I think that some asshat using FAR with his sheet of A12 paper that goes off the fucking map is just, you know what? That's such a wargamer thing that to me, I'm like, it's completely fine. That's completely okay. If that's a sheet of paper, bro. Bro, it said a sheet of paper, bro. Gonna saw off half my Witchy. That's gonna hold on. Wait a second. Standard pencil, right? Well, my standard pencil happens to be the rubber.
You have to understand is that the American pencil is different from a Canadian pencil.
Oh my God, you gotta be fucking kidding me. No way. That's not real. You're lying to me.
Am I?
I don't know. Are you? He go up. He look. My standard. Yeah, my standard pencil is different. This is the standard that I live by. You shouldn't.
You wouldn't know her. She goes to a different.
You wouldn't know her. It's a very prestigious pencil that I got here.
Or the length of a standard piece of paper.
Oh, I see. I was actually reading the. Okay, so they actually are also giving feet in
anything beyond the length of a piece of paper.
So they're actually giving feet along with.
If it is in range, make an action roll and add any relevant modifiers. If the roll meets or beats that creature's individual difficulty score,
so they give standard things and be like,
simply
but here,
roll your damage dice and add their values
explanation.
Together.
Creatures also have minor, major, and severe damage thresholds, just like player characters.
So they
have
variable
amount
of
two severes
and stress, but they don't have armor or evasion scores like.
So they immediately get
now
hit.
For your GMs out
which
there,
means
you're rolling to see if a creature hits a player character.
I didn't hear that part the first time I watched it. I'm even more interested now. Do you know the biggest fucking gripe in the almost 20? I've played D&D for almost 20 years.
Is missing. It's missing and sucking. It's you roll the suck.
Sorry. Thank you for bringing me out of my existential crisis. Yes, it's missing. Every single motherfucker on the planet. There is nothing more aggravating. There is nothing more fucking harmful. There is nothing more absolutely annoying than here's my bonsai blast, and it's just like he fucking dodges it, and you're like, oh, I'll just go kill myself. Then it turns out that I'm actually a piece of garbage.
In game.
I'll just do in game in Minecraft. Well, I'm going to exit game.
But no, you're right. So that is a very interesting thing, but we'll have to see what a health bar looks like for a creature if they put one on.
Is it also 6? Do they also have, you do 2 severes and you've downed them, motherfucker? That'd be good, actually.
That would actually be very good, except for bosses. Bosses got to have like
bosses have that like but they're gonna have any money they have mitigations at the dickle because like you know what I feel like
if I remember correctly, let me see if I can rewind here just a little bit.
They don't get evasion, they don't get armor, so you always hit, and you always do something.
So they
also have minor, major, and severe damage thresholds.
So, okay, they got the thresholds.
And a variable amount of hit points.
Variable amounts of points and stress.
Don't have armor or evasion scores. Like
okay, no armor or evasion.
Now for you GMs out there, if you're rolling to see if a creature hits a player character, you simply roll a d20, add the relevant modifiers from that monster's sheet, and see if it hits that player's evasion score. If it hits, roll for damage, and the player determines if they'll spend armor slots to reduce it or how many hit points they have to mark thereafter.
Now, if your players are entering into a combat that will last for more than 1 or 2 turns, your GM may place an action tracker on the table. When an action tracker is out, the players add a token.
You only do this if it's going to last for one or two turns, which is the... I will tell you right now, the standard time frame in Pathfinder First Edition that me and my group have played for the majority of our lives, combat is done in 2 turns. It is finished. You, even with the massive health pools and everything for it there, the level of optimization that you can pull off in terms of your PCs and them working together and just fucking, stacking action upon action, you will melt anyone in your way in usually 1 turn, and then the second turn, if there's that one straggler that goes that just you happen to miss, everyone focus fires that guy down and he's fucking turned to paste. So 1 to 2 turns is the standard. Absolutely, 100% agree. And then this is where the boss comes in.
Yeah, so I'm reading the action tracker here. So whenever a PC makes an action roll, they place a character token on the action tracker. And when the GM makes a move, they may choose to spend any number of the tokens. So it's not quite what we do in 2D20, but it is more or less activating the enemy. In fact, yeah, if I remember this correctly. So basically they do what the Borg do in Star Trek, where the Borg get as many actions as the players do. So if 5 players act, you have 5 turns for the enemy.
Interesting.
So that's an interesting mechanic. My only concern is, though, if you only have the one thing on the table, the boss monster or whatever, and the boss monster then gets 5 turns, which in my head would actually make sense because it prevents you from, getting 1 turn with your big bad evil dragon, whatever, and you didn't even get to use its fire breath but once. So you'd actually get to use the fire breath 5 times in this example.
Oh, dear God, I hope that it has a cooldown. Don't let it use it 5 times.
Well, you also want to make it interesting because as much as I agree that combat should definitely be 1 to 2 turns, and I always strive to make combat 1 or 2 turns in my games, except in Fallout. Fallout, we let go a little bit longer because people like numbers, so I usually let that go.
Numbers?
Yeah, Fallout, people liking numbers, who would have guessed? But it's one of those things where my concern is that this could become very deadly for the players very quickly, but we also have to see what AoE looks like for a monster.
True. Big and true and real. And I bet this isn't the only thing for it there. Remember that meta currency?
Hope and fear.
The fear? What's that doing? How does that work?
Well, maybe they'll answer. Let's keep going and see if they answer.
Whenever they make an action roll, players will continue to make action rolls in combat until they fail.
I love the little frog just hitting against the guy,
which then allows the focus to shift.
Did you see that?
I did.
Scroll it back a bit.
Scroll back until they fail or roll with fear. Very good catch.
So there it is. That's how you do the turn switch. Is that it seems like everyone on the hero side gets to go first and do stuff. I don't know how the initial action is determined. Probably by maybe initiative in terms of player. I know what I want to do initiative. Where the guy you have a guy who's I know exactly what I'm going to do. This is exactly what I'm I have a plan in my head. I know what the fuck I want to do. I have no clue. Of course, obviously I'm talking out my ass here because I have no idea. Yeah.
It's probably what we do in 2D20 where it's just the player's turn and any player can go, where that's
it. Yeah. Is you take and you obviously go with the guy who knows exactly what the fuck they want to do. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That makes sense to me.
Yeah,
and then, but you start rolling, and then as soon as you roll with fear, enemy turn.
It's over. It's back over to the enemy.
Back to bad guy.
Mm-hmm. Which, now that I think about it, so in this example, we already have 5 tokens on the screen. If I understand this correctly, you could roll 5 attacks. That's great. You maybe take down 3 to 5 enemies, but then you roll with, you fail or roll with fear, and now the enemy gets 5 back-to-back turns.
That's scary.
So, that is scary. I mean, I like that as a game master, but as a player, that makes me go, ooh, should we be attacking this much, kind of a thing.
The thing is, though, is that it seems to be like you just take your turn, and then that's going to add the tracker regardless, right? So you just do what you need to do. Right. So if you're attacking or regardless or whatever you're going to be doing, they're going to get an action back. So it makes sense to me. But I'm curious to see how it works out, how it goes, what that would be like, and it's kind of scary. But yeah, let's
keep going.
And the 6 HP, that's tension forever.
Make what's called
it is
a GM move.
It is.
Now,
it's a lot of tension.
A GM move is literally just the GM taking a turn. So after a player rolls with fear
Spencer,
and/or fails an attack roll, the GM then has the opportunity to spend any number of action tokens from the tracker.
No, it came out of nowhere. That's all.
Combatants. So all those turns the players took in succession now have turned into resources for me. After the GM turn is resolved, play then passes back to the players.
Anytime, GMs can also spend 2 action tokens to gain 1 fear token. Remember
those? So you convert meta
every
currencies.
time your player characters roll a fear, the GM collects a fear token. Well, here's how they factor in. At any point during combat, a GM can spend 2 of the fear tokens accrued during a session to make a GM move without needing the players to roll a failure or with fear.
Additionally, GMs can
pause right there.
So
how do you feel about that? Where he's just like, your move is interrupted. I get to go. I'm spending 2 fear tokens. The man gets to go.
So that's actually what I do in Star Trek, Fallout, etc., where we have GM meta currency. That is, yes, I'm seizing the initiative and I'm using an enemy against you. So I like it. I like it so far, but let's see what the other spends are, because the other spends are what's going to matter here.
Okay, all right. So
also,
instant
dash,
turn, you're like, I like that.
Real quick, dash Nash, maybe. I'm a solid interested, but we have to see how the rest plays out.
No way. Ain't no way we get this motherfucker to play D&D. Ain't no fucking way.
Hold on, let's keep going. We've got another 4 minutes in the video, which will take us another 30 minutes. But let's see
another 30 minutes.
To activate special abilities of adversaries.
Okay, so they are activating. So you can spend it to activate abilities, and you can spend it to generate action tokens. Makes sense. I like it. And using the dragon example, a dragon breath is probably going to be one of those things you have to spend
2-3 tokens maybe to like just instant blast them with a fucking fire. That makes sense to me.
Makes sense to me, yeah. But let's keep going.
Or generate action tokens for themselves, or make particularly big and dramatic GM moves.
If things go really bad in or out of combat, character death in Daggerheart is a real possibility. But the system offers players 3 options to choose from when the character marks their final hit point.
The first option is called Blaze of Glory. This option lets your character, you guessed it, die in a glorious and heroic fashion. They take one final action that will be an automatic critical success before passing into the great beyond.
Then there's the ever-popular Avoid Death and Face the Consequences, where your character drops unconscious and cannot take any actions until they get at least 1 hit point back.
Standard
when this
D&D
happens,
stuff.
you roll your fear die, and if it's equal to or under your level, you gain a scar, which means you permanently cross out one of your hope slots.
And finally, there's
okay, I'm going to pause it there. So they actually provide a mechanic to reduce the amount of meta currency you can get.
Yes.
That is interesting.
And I am assuming that if you have made this character survive fucking everything, and you got to the point where you've crossed out your last hope die, where you can't use hope tokens, that means like that's terrifying to me, because that is any money. Those hope tokens are probably a resource to also use your abilities. That means you can't use those fucking abilities anymore that need hope, which means you're probably stacking your abilities, only the ones that use stress or whatever. But that's insane. Like, Can you imagine, like, a man who survived everything? This is like, that survivor's guilt syndrome and everything for it there, where like you've got a guy who's beaten down, he's covered in cuts and everything for it there, and he just doesn't believe anymore. That's that's mechanical storytelling weaved in with the narrative. Fuck yes.
Yeah. Let's see what Risk It All does, because I got to see what Risk It All
Risk It All? What's Risk It All?
Personal favorite, I believe, which leaves it all up to chance. You roll your duality dice. If your hope die is higher, you stay on your feet and clear an amount of hit points and or stress equal to the value you roll on your hope die. But if your fear die is higher, you immediately cross through the veil of death. Now, if the die is tied,
if they're tied, that was my question.
Critical success in Daggerheart. You don't just stay on your feet. You also clear all of your hit points and stress, renewed and ready to go right back into it.
Now that we've covered all the stuff you
So,
that's fucking crazy. You just get up and you're like, I've got my second wind, bitch.
I didn't hear no bell.
I didn't hear no bell.
So I'm of two minds of this. On the one hand, I think that those are three good mechanics. I think leaving it up to chance is amazing. It lets players who like gambling, lets them do the thing. I like the, hey, I don't want to die here, so I'm just going to take a scar. I'll lose a hit, a hope, that sort of thing.
Yeah, so honestly, that's going to be me, because I'm such a fucking coward with that shit. I love my characters too much to let them fucking die. But like that Risk It All, man, something. What is it with gambling, man? What is it with like playing TTRPGs and that gamble mechanic where you're like, oh man, God, one more roll. If I get a critical, I stand back up and I scream, Griffin!
I mean, that's the best part is when if you're at a friend's house.
Can you imagine being like
game?
Completely fucked out of your resources? I have nothing, and you get back up and you're like, I have all of my HP. I have, and like
all of your stress.
Sticks. All my stress, which means I can use whatever stress abilities I have. I assume there's stress abilities, and you just charge in and go insane. Yes, that's so sick.
I mean, that's the kind of things that stories get told about. I mean, it
is, dude.
That's the natural 20 of this system, from what I'm seeing. And you're just
covered in blood. You get up and you just fuck it. We ball. Oh, that's actually. There's something about that makes me just fucking twerk my nips, dude. Oh my God, that's fucking sick. So yeah, there's a real possibility that instead of bitching out, which would be 100% my normal reaction, just laying in the dirt and being like, I take a scar and I'm fine, guys. I'll be fine. I'll see you next session if we survive. God, you all better fucking save us. But that chance to just be like, fuck it, dude. You'll heal me up. And even then, if you at least get a hope, you get some of it back. You can do some stuff. That's awesome.
I like it. I will say that it probably will mean that actual character death is probably going to be a little bit harder than D&D unless you have the right group of players. Because if you have a group of players that are coveting their characters, which, everybody who plays a character does to some degree. But if you have somebody that's like draconic clause, like, no, I'm not giving up my character ever. I can see that it being very hard to kill a character, but
absolutely. Because typically you don't want character death because do you really want like someone at your table to be sad and mopey and like not have a good time?
Oh, not at all. But my concern is what they didn't explain. And I know why they didn't explain it, because they only had 16 minutes. They didn't explain what happens when you have no more hope. And
I'm so interested, dude. Any money? I bet you'll be able to do something in game to regain the hope, like doing narrative team building, or like having that sense of humanity. Maybe going back and seeing your like family and spending time with them, and you're like, you know what, I do. You can regain one of your home slots, and you do that enough, and I'm back to being a human being. I've cleared my trauma from, when we had those near-death experiences, right?
Yep.
Tie in the narrative with the mechanic. That's how you fucking progress the game forward. Or at least that's how I would do it. But of course, we have no fucking idea.
Yeah, we have no idea. They're only giving us so much information. And yeah,
Absolutely.
Orphish, you're right. What happens if you get mobbed? I don't know. What happens if you get caught in AoE? I don't know.
No, we don't have no idea yet. Questions. So many questions.
Let's see what else they have
in combat. Let's touch on some of the stuff you can do during your downtime.
Okay, downtime. Okay. This might answer our questions.
When you take a short rest in Daggerheart, you can spend about an hour doing 2 of the following options.
You can tend to your wounds or another
Short
player's
rest,
wounds,
okay,
clearing 1d4
standard
hit
stuff.
points.
1d4.
You can blow off some
Stop
steam and
adding more
clear 1d4
dice.
of your stress.
Stop, no.
You can spend
Stop.
time mending your armor or another
I know why
person's
you're doing
armor
it.
and
Stop.
clear 2 marked armor
Okay, but
slots.
actually that
Or you-
also answers my question about how you repair armor is mending armor slots.
Mending.
And unless I missed it there in that quick blurb, it doesn't
Yep.
sound like armor slots require materials to fix.
No, it does not seem like it at all. It seems like it's a narrative thing where it's just like, okay, well, you are assumed to have the things that you need.
Yep. Which again,
is
I like.
Good. Always good.
Yeah, I like. But again,
but you know what?
Me
the
as the
thing.
game master, though, is thinking, okay, how many encounters do I have to throw at them at a time between short rests so that armor becomes not just I'll always use it, if that makes any sense.
Here's the thing is that the mitigation of doing that means that like you potentially you can just run out of armor or start an encounter. Well, see, you just roll low, right? What if you roll a 1? What if you roll a bunch of 1s and now I have 2 of my armor slots already filled. I only have 1 left for this entire fight. Oh God, like I need to be careful with, and because the maximums are so low and small, you have 6 HP, you have 3 slots of armor, and you have whatever your fucking evasion score is. That's all you get, man. And not only that, but
well, you're forgetting
you
the
have
thresholds.
to remember that these
thresholds are very important too.
The thresholds are fucking phenomenal, absolutely. And so maybe you can use your resource pool of stress to take some of the damage away, but that also probably ebbs away your ability to cast whatever your stress spells are, which are probably a lot of fighter stuff where you swing your sword real hard. So you're not doing any sort of special, but if you're doing basic shit, if you don't want to spend your stress, and that's going to make the whole the fight harder. And it's just like, it's actually really good. The tension is built into the entirety of the game. I dig this, man. I dig this so much.
I'm very left of neutral at this point. I'm positive, but I have questions.
Neutral. I have questions, but I'm glad that you're positive at least. I'm glad that you're at least willing to take it a shot because I know.
I mean, the moment it was a D12 system, I was like, "Fuck yeah, I got to do a D12 system." I love fucking D12s. So
you are the most anti D&D man I can possibly think of. You so against it every time, even baby mode 5th edition. You're just like, no, not happening.
Which is ironic because I'm actually in a Thursday game of Dungeons and Dragons, but you know,
you're a smelly idiot with a weird penis, dude. That's you right now. You son of a bitch, fucking tricking me my entire life. Talking all that good shit, and behind my back, you're smoking the crack. What's going on, dude? What the fuck?
I'll never run the thing, but I'll play in it because if I know the people, I'll play in it. But I'd never run the damn thing.
Okay, that's very fair. That's a lot more fair. As a guy who also 99% of the time just plays and barely runs, very true.
Spyro, you have walked into us spending the last hour and a half going over the Daggerheart open beta.
It's very important, and it has 100% definitely stuff to do with power washing and the Emperor.
We'll get to that shortly. That's coming up. Let's see what else Matt has to say.
Let's finish up. Spend the time preparing yourself for the path ahead and gain a hope.
Okay, gaining a hope.
If you're able to make camp and relax for a few hours, you can take a long rest and choose 2 of the following. Clear all marked hit points, clear all marked stress, fully mend your armor, clearing all marked armor slots, or do this on an ally. You can prepare and gain 1 hope, or you can choose to prepare with 1 or more members of your party and instead take 2 hope each.
Yep, that makes sense.
Lastly, you can work on a project.
Working on a project
substantial amount of time, like deciphering an ancient codex or crafting a new weapon. The GM will assign this project a countdown.
So one thing I'll say here, because this is a mechanic in Star Trek as well, is that this is what we would call an extended task in Star Trek Adventures. And it's something where you are working against. Actually, let me see if he says how this plays out.
Each time you work on this project, you tick down that countdown until the project.
Okay, so it's very similar. So it's something where an extended task is you're basically rolling to see how well you do against your progress track. And it sounds like here you're not actually rolling dice.
You just automatically get it.
Yeah, you're just ticking down that clock.
Which is so nice and so like that's such like a what because imagine doing something, right? Going and setting up to go and do it, and then just failing to do that. That's they're taking away those. Oh God, I'm going to use the manager term. They're taking away the pain points of Dungeons and Dragons and making it so that when you play the game, you lower the risk of getting pissed right the fuck off.
Now, one thing
you heroically will hit the enemy. Now, whether or not they take a stress or they take real damage, that's going to happen. But you're always making them spend a resource, whereas you, as the player, have the full evasion ability, that thing that is just rolled against you to see if they even hit. Because why should you? Because it feels good as a player to just not take those resources in fucking damage. To not to have that ability to completely nullify the enemy, because that's cool and feels good, and you want the players to feel fucking good. And that's
now I do have a negative here, but it's a very small negative.
He's coming in here. He's gonna spit in my mouth. What's up?
So I like what you're saying, and I agree that this is all good. But I'm also thinking of the perspective of a game master teaching this at a convention or teaching this for like a one shot. And
it's
one of those things where I like the idea that you have a list of options you can do during short rest, long rest, whatever. But I also realize that that's going to get the min-maxers really on edge. Like, it's like, oh, what are you doing? No, you don't go against that project. You should heal your hit points. And it also, it's one of those things where until your players naturally know during downtime to go and pick something from the list, you're going to have to go to each player and go, all right, Bobby, what are your 2 downtime actions? Susie, what are your 2 downtime actions? You see what I'm saying? Where
and they're gonna have the well, I'm not really that hurt. I see what you're saying.
Yeah. So it's a small negative, but it is a negative that I do have to mention. But again, right now, the positives are much outweighing the negatives I brought up so far.
Absolutely. And you know what? Here's the thing, is that I don't think about those because I have that stable group that I play with for forever. And to me, that is, I can immediately think of what my other fellow players are going to do, what the GM is going to be expecting of me and all that stuff. There's just such a normalcy for me to be like, yeah, this is not a problem. This is completely real. But I so understand what you're thinking of in terms of that. Like, oh, here's a bunch of randos having to play together. Having never had to do that and not having that. Oh, you know what? That's a lie. I actually did play once or twice at a convention for it there. There was that one time where I won. I won I won that convention. I won the grand prize or whatever.
Yep, I remember that story.
For the D&D shit. But it was so I won, and all I had to say was that it was entirely awful. And dear God, do I wish I was in one of the other groups where I could like hear from my table that they were having fun. All of them, they were giggling and laughing together. And they may not have played the best, but I still would have rather had that than the sweats that I had to fucking play with. Fuck me, man.
Yeah, the sweats will get you every time. But let's see if the Mercer and Spencer here have anything further to say.
It is complete.
Now, when you're at level 5 or above, during a long or short rest, you can swap domain cards in your loadout with any domain cards in your vault. This is useful
so it actually lets you.
So there's time, but you really don't have to worry about that until
there's cards.
There's cards, which
Lego
I like.
Cards.
But again, and this is now from a stream perspective, it's one of those things where your players are going to have to be on top of that sort of thing, because if you're streaming this, what you don't want to have happen is, okay, Susie, Bobby, you got your 2 down actions. Charles, Charles, you're fucking with cards again. So I'll come back to you in about 30 minutes.
Right, but it seems like you have a very small deck here. So 5
he literally said 5.
Maximum. Yeah. So 5 seems to be the maximum. Do you even start with 5? Because if I remember correctly, let me see if
I can back up. Let me see. This is only
5 domain cards in your loadout at a time, but you really don't have to worry about that until higher levels anyway.
Okay, so when he says that, I think it's something where you get it per level, if I understand this correctly.
Maybe. So level 5, you get your full kit.
Right.
So level 1, you'll have a card, which makes it very very easy to determine what the hell you're going to be doing.
Yep. All right. Well, let's keep going. What else do you have to say, Mercer?
I think that's it.
I think that's all.
I think that wraps up our quick and dirty overview of the Daggerheart rule set as it currently sits. I know it's a lot up front, like any game system is, but
actually wasn't all that up front, but I like it.
To dive in, play it out
in a bad
yourself,
way. It wasn't that bad.
Kind of give us your feedback and how you feel about it.
Yeah, we're really excited because the game is in a state where we can actually take the feedback that you're giving us and implement.
Okay, I think the video's over at this point, but no,
100%.
I will say after we get done, Benno, I'm probably going to go try and pull the beta files and give it a
There
read.
he is. Look at this. I've converted him. Oh, fuck yeah. Mission success, boys.
Because here's what I'm thinking, Benno, is what I'm curious is if I get you and Congo and one other at the table, because Congo would tear this thing apart. I know how he'd tear it apart.
He's gonna have a look at stuff and immediately be like, okay, where can I min-max everything for it there? See, my immediate thought process for it there too is being like, okay, well, you've given me a path that makes it so that I have an ability, right? I have a baked-in ability that the enemies don't, which is that evasive score, right? So I'm like, how do I pump evasion as hard as possible to never take resource damage? And that's how I'm going to break the game. And it's probably going to be like, there's not actually that many ways to pump evasion.
There really isn't, from the sounds of it.
From the sounds of it, it seems like it's not a lot of stacking, but maybe I can figure a way to do it. Maybe they'll be foolish enough to grant me some cards, Lego cards, that will allow me to boost my evasion, and then I'll have a way to... Oh, you know what it is?
You have to do it in that voice, too.
Spend this resource to boost your evasion. I'll be like...
Spend hope. I would think spending hope is what you do.
God fucking damn it. That's me spending the resource. The whole point was to never spend any resources. God damn it. And then they've got me spending resources anyway, right? And it's just like, okay, well... You still spent a resource, but yeah, you managed to dodge his attack. And it's just like, yes, I did it. And it only, fuck. Shit. He tricked me. I spent a resource anyway. No!
Everything's over. Game over, bud.
The whole point was to hoard my resources. I bet you, what if you can't even attack without spending a resource? Who knows? I bet you can still probably do like a very basic attack without spending a resource. You have to,
because otherwise you would grind to a halt.
You 100% would grind yourself into a fucking corner, little baby mode. Yeah. We'll see.
Right,
we will have to see. Yeah.
I do want to say thank you for reacting to this, being a React Andy with me. Like I said, I'm very much in the positive camp. It's going to require me reading more into it, but it's very
exciting.
Positive.
And you know what? You have another video, a 30-minute or 40-minute one, however long, with Travis, and he goes through, him and Mercer go through building the character as well. So you'll see what that's like. And honestly, very impressed. Because once again, they have things that bake in narrative shit in part of the mechanics, make it a part of it in there, force that interaction, force that, like, you need to have connections in there, you need to have stuff going on. And it's just like, I fucking love that, dude. That's my bread and butter. That makes it so that, like, people are thinking on that, even subvertively, right? Where it's just like, oh no, well, I'm just making my character, right? But you still need something to go off of, and it makes people, it'll give them choices. It'll be generic stuff, right? Like, oh, you need to have a lover, you need to have a whatever, you need to have like a thing. But it makes it so that you are not only thinking about you are thinking about the connections that your character has and how you can, even if it is for mechanically exploitable, like, oh, this is how I can get my bonuses, right? These are where my bonuses are from, and these are who I have my bonuses against. But at least you are still then thinking about your character and how they connect to a world. And that's so fucking genuinely important to me, man. Like, I want people to be like, please, for the love of God, at least try role-playing. Please try role-playing. Just a smidge. You'll have fun. I swear to God, you'll have fun.
Also, really quick, Spyro, you are right. If I remember correctly, Bertrand Bell was a early Campaign 3 character for Critical Role that they moved over to Daggerheart. So that'll be interesting for anybody who's a fan of Campaign 3. We'll have to see how much they change Bertrand in Daggerheart.
Absolutely. I don't even here's the thing. I don't even know Bertrand at all because I
say this without being spoilers? He was one of those characters that it wasn't the players. I mean, we know Travis was behind it. It was one of those characters where Travis was filling a role in the party.
Okay.
And then his real character came onto the stage.
Oh, it was like a temp guy. Okay,
yeah.
Interesting. Very cool. Oh, that's fucking cool, dude.
At least that's how I remember it. I might be wrong. Yell at me in the comments if I'm wrong.
Yell at me in the comments if I'm in the comments. Oh, are you going to turn this into a vid?
I'm definitely going to turn
react,
this into a
react,
vid,
Andy.
Sure.
Okay,
yeah,
you got it, buddy. Hell yeah. And that was the basic information of how to play Daggerheart, a React Andy edition. Thanks for coming by. Like, subscribe, leave a little mean note that says he's got smelly pits and that I'm huge and have a large penal area. And yes, we'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.